Super Bowl is what they call Goyim slop. Hi, I'm Candace Owens, and welcome to the Candace Owens Show, episode 304, Halftime Wars, TPUSA versus the NFL. I'm actually pretty chill with modern culture. I'm a Shakira stan, and I've defended Rihanna in the past. In fact, I was one of the only people who thought the halftime show she did previously, where she was wearing red, wasn't a Satan worshipping act. I also like and listen to Spanish music. That's why I had to come out for my boy Mark Anthony. I like the old school stuff, and to be honest, I've never even really heard Bad Bunny, but I actually thought the set design was really cool. And look, obviously he's really famous, and that's why he was booked. But Jay-Z was the one who booked him, and he's the one who decides on the halftime shows, and it's been very clear for a long time that Jay-Z has a relationship with the feds. Just in terms of numbers, there was 7 million more people who tuned in to watch the halftime performance than watched the game itself. I have a feeling that all of this is a precursor to slamming the TPUSA alternative halftime show, but let's see where she goes with it. So I started looking into this Bad Bunny character and I saw pictures of him in a dress. Now, putting Bad Bunny in a dress is satanic, but if I sat down with him, he wouldn't even be able to explain what he's doing. So I don't really think he's smart enough to understand what's going on. So you had everyone tweeting on the Republican side saying, switch off your TV and watch the TPUSA halftime show. And nobody switched off. In fact, we can say for a fact that more people tuned in. Take that, Erica. Candace is confusing herself as well as me now because she's arguing about the TPUSA viewing figures for the All American Alternative Halftime Show. And Candace says that the claim by TPUSA to have 6 million concurrent viewers is a lie. And she then plays a clip in which TPUSA claims to have had 10 million concurrent viewers. So that's unclear. I laughed when I saw the claim, and as you can see from the screenshot, the actual viewership was less than 6,000 on YouTube, which seems unlikely. If they really had 6 million views, it would be on the top 20 live events on YouTube. And what they're saying is basically Erica Kirk is essentially more popular than Cristiano Ronaldo. Furthermore, if you don't love Erica Kirk, then you don't love Jesus. As a YouTuber myself, this inflation of the viewing figures really offends me. And in fact, this is exactly the sort of thing that Charlie Kirk hated. And me and him used to talk about this all the time because we were the best of friends and we shared secrets. Tyler Boyer is a sexual deviant and a committed homosexual, part time. I'll be honest, the part time bit does make me question his commitment. The moral of the story is that everything is fake and a lot of it is gay. And that is a direct quote. Which brings us back to Fort Huachuca. My source saw Erica Kirk leaving Fort Huachuca with, let's say, a Cabot Phillips look-alike. Last week, we introduced you to Tracy Martin, who was Erica's best friend for over 20 years. She was to Erica what I was to Charlie, best friends forever. I was having trouble learning about Tracy's husband, but I saw a picture of him, and he looks military-esque to me. We received this interesting tip, which I stress is just a tip. Just a crazy person who sent an email to me. There's a chief of staff of the Southern Command with the same name, and this Thomas Martin has gone to great lengths to erase his public profile on the internet. He disappeared from LinkedIn, which is suspicious. We found a relic on Zoom info. He was involved with the Department of Homeland Security, which we know Erica Kirk's mother is also involved with. So this man appeared in a newspaper article, it's unclear how many years ago, in the context of a case that involves sheltering aliens crossing the border. Essentially, this Thomas Martin was arguing for church-based sanctuary for aliens. So just to be clear, we have no idea whether this is the same Thomas Martin, or even if the Thomas Martin that's mentioned in the newspaper is the same as the Thomas Martin that used to be on LinkedIn, let alone if the Thomas Martin that used to be on LinkedIn and maybe in the newspaper is the same as the Thomas Martin that was married to Erica Kirk's best friend. Just to be clear, there's another Thomas Martin, Thomas G. Martin, who works in Border Patrol, and that's not him. So if you're sleuthing around yourself, mom detectives, please don't send tips about Thomas G. Martin, but please do send tips about Thomas Martin without the G. strictly without the G. But by the way, it's more tips at CandaceOwens.com if you have any more hard information you'd like to share with Candace about Martin A. Thomas or Martin Z. Thomas. Tracy's daughter, again according to the source, works for TPUSA, and Tracy had a bad feeling on the day of the assassination. So just to clarify, Tracy, who is Erica's bestest friend in the whole world, has a husband who may or may not have worked for Border Patrol and may or may not have been involved in illegal alien smuggling across the border an unknown number of years ago. And Erica Kirk's best friend may or may not have a daughter who works at TPUSA. And my source tells me she had a bad feeling about going to work that day. Tracy had a divine intuition that her daughter shouldn't go to work on the day of the assassination. She just happened to have a magical inspiration. Well, guys, I tell you, I don't know what's going on, but I do know it's not what they're telling us is going on. And we'll be back after a word from our sponsors. Guys, isn't it so hard to get your fruits and veggies every day? Why not just take them in a tablet instead? And if you don't trust me, you'll find Ben Shapiro selling the exact same things on his show. On the 18th of July, Erica Kirk purged over 100 pictures from her Instagram. I'm just giving you guys a data point from the master timeline I've been building. I realized that this was the time that things were really heating up. So I wonder if she did that after Charlie Kirk had a fight with Benjamin Netanyahu at the White House. Charlie managed to single handedly defeat Netanyahu and all of his Zionist goons. And you don't have to take my word for that. You can take Tucker Carlson's word for it. Anyway, after Charlie defeated the Zionists with facts and logic, Trump was convinced not to go to war with Iran, and the Zionists were furious with Charlie. There was also a big shouty argument in the Hamptons, in which Charlie also slayed the Zionists with facts and logic. And yes, you guessed it, Benjamin Netanyahu was also involved, although apparently this time he called in on the phone. Seth Dillon of the Babylon Bee may be involved, and he called me an anti Semite at a congressional hearing. I just want to be clear, I don't hate Jews. I hate Zionists and Israelis and rabbis and Ben Shapiro. At the hearing, Seth was complaining because I posted a movie style picture of him with the slogan, I know what you did last summer, basically accusing him of involvement in Charlie Kirk's murder. Candace calls this objectively hilarious. By the way, for the record, I was not the one who said Charlie was being blackmailed in the Hamptons. Charlie was the one who said he was being morally blackmailed. The only reason they're lying is because they have something to hide and they want to protect Bibi. Seth is just terrible. Look at him. He's a lawyer. You can tell just by looking at his face. You just can. You're not the funny guy at all, Seth. You're completely unhinged. You guys just keep pretending you're the victims. Well, Seth, guess what? I still know what you did last summer. We'll be back after these messages from our sponsors. As a mother, I've learned the value of cuddles. And as Valentine's Day approaches, I just wanted to say sometimes love is a blanket. So please buy these blankets for Valentine's Day. Also, if you're drowning in debt, maybe because you bought too many cuddle blankets, why not remortgage your house in order to pay it down? A lot of people are doing it, and I hear there's no downside. Why Are You Gay merch is now available on the website. The image shows a picture of the Eiffel Tower with Candace written at the bottom, and then around the Eiffel Tower is written, Why Are You Gay, Emmanuel Macron? Obviously, for anybody who's not familiar, that's a reference to Brigitte Macron having a penis. My relationship with Charlie was genuine. I knew who he was, I knew what his faults were, and sure, we annoyed each other in some ways, but we really were the best of friends. Apparently, there's a book being written about Charlie Kirk, and I am very interested to know more about the person who wrote that book. The poor author is going to wish they were never born once the mom detectives are on the case. I basically get all of my clothes in London because they have so many cute boutiques there. I just wanted to let you guys know. A listener asks me whether Charlie Kirk's parents have been in touch to express gratitude for all of the work I've done for the truth. No, I've not been in touch with Charlie Kirk's parents because they're very private people. Just to come back to the TPUSA All American halftime viewing figures again, because look, if they were real, they'd be in the Guinness Book of World Records. So they must think we're really stupid. And just to reiterate again, in response to a viewer who asks, Charlie Kirk had a condition where lights went out when he ran past. This is real. And in fact, I'm going to look this up right now on my laptop on the show. There is a syndrome. Here it is. It's called SLI, Streetlight Interference Syndrome, which is a phenomenon where people claim that streetlights flicker on or turn off on approach. I mean, come on, guys, it's such a random thing to make up. I must be telling the truth. This syndrome is actually quite common among children who went to the gifted and talented X-Men school that Charlie did. Charlie spoke to me many times about his third eye. Again, not a euphemism, never a euphemism. I have it in writing. He spoke to me about his third eye and the fact that the government is trying to poison your pineal gland. And that's why I'm always in trouble, because I tell you guys the truth about what Charlie told me. I'm not summoning demons over here. I'm just telling you about conversations I had with Charlie. Because again, we were the best of friends. And once again, if any of you mom detectives have anything that you want to say, it's more tips at candaceowens.com. And who knows, your crazy hallucination might feature prominently in tomorrow's show.